Hi everybody, it is Kerry here at the North East Autism Society and I'm with the guys from the Life Science Centre. So I've got Danny, Hayley and Tony with us this morning and it's time for our weekly science activity. So today we're going to be looking at how to make and crack a secret code. And this was an activity that had been requested from Josh, because Josh is very interested in World War II. So could you just tell us a little bit, guys, about the background to this activity?
Yeah, so a couple of weeks ago was the 75th anniversary of VE Day, which was marking the end of World War II in Europe. And this year generally is marking the 75th anniversary of the end of World War II altogether. So a lot of people are thinking about the war and kind of what happened in it, and maybe some younger people are learning about it for the first time. And when you're thinking about wars, you think a lot about the soldiers and the tanks and the planes and things like that. But there were a lot of other people behind the scenes doing things to help out all those soldiers, and that included lots of scientists and engineers, and also a lot of mathematicians who were developing codes and ciphers to try and send secret messages to our soldiers, but also understand what the enemy soldiers were talking about. And so
what kind of things would they talk about? What kind of messages would they send?
It would be things like, we're gonna try and capture this place over here, or we need more of this important resource. Where are we going to get some? Things like that, things that you wouldn't want the other side to know about necessarily. And like I say, they set codes and they also set ciphers, and those are different things, but they're words that maybe we use kind of interchangeably to mean the same kind of thing, but they are different. But I'm always a little bit confused as to how. Hayley, I know you know a bit more about this. How are they different?
Yeah, so I imagine most people have heard the word code before, but maybe not the word cipher. And as Danny said, they are quite similar, but there are some little differences as well. So if you were making a code and you've got kind of a sentence, lots of different words in there, you might change each word to another completely random word, or you might change each word to a number or a symbol. And whoever you are sending that code to would need a kind of code book to be able to work out what the message said. Whereas a cipher, each letter in that message would be changed to a slightly different letter. So codes are all about changing words to other words or numbers or symbols, and ciphers are all about changing letters to other letters.
So if you had a code and I wanted to talk about, we need to buy some apples, I would replace the word apples for elephants, and I'd say we need more elephants, and then the other people wouldn't know that we're talking about apples.
Exactly, and people that you were sending that code to would need a code book, and they would need to know that apples meant elephants. But you probably wouldn't want to write that down in case it fell into the enemy hands.
But if it was a cipher and I wanted to say we needed apples, how do I mix up the letters? Do I just kind of guess? So I say, okay, apples, A, I'm going to say S is A, and P, I'm going to say Z is P. Do I just kind of make it up?
You could do it like that, but that would require you remembering what you changed every letter to, and that would get quite complicated. But that is more how they did it in the first computers to help them do that, to be able to do it faster. But I've got a way to do it here where you only have to remember one thing. You only have to remember one number. So let me change the angle of this so you can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to use my piece of paper, a ruler, and some pens to make something called a Caesar shift. And the first thing I'm going to do is just draw a line, make a strip on my lined piece of paper. I've marked it so it's about 2 centimeters wide. It doesn't really matter, just so it's wide enough for you to write on those lines in a moment.
Does it have to be lined paper, or will plain paper do?
So lined paper will make the next step a little bit easier, but if you don't have lined paper, plain would do, and you could maybe draw on some lines or boxes. Doesn't really matter.
Okay.
And then I'm just going to cut
along my line. So I've got a long thin strip. And then this is where those lines come in nice and handy, because in each box that I've created, I'm going to write one letter of the alphabet. And rather than just you sitting watching me write out the entire alphabet, I've got some here that I made a little bit earlier. Oh. Very Blue Beta style, Hayley. I've actually made 3 of these strips. I've done 1 in red and I've done 2 in blue. Does it matter which colours you use, or? Doesn't matter which colours you use, but I would use 2 different colours, and then it helps you with the next step. It helps you work out which one of these strips you're going to use to cipher your message and which one of the strips you're going to use to decipher your message. So
that's where that word comes from, I realise now. Decipher.
Yeah, you might have heard that before. It's all to do with working out what those ciphered messages mean. So those words are very closely linked. The first thing I'm going to do is just line up my strips so that the A's match up at one end. But this is not going to make a ciphered message, because if I used it right now, anytime I wanted to write A, I would just write A and it would just be exactly the same. So what you need to do is shift it along, and you can shift it however many you want. I'm going to start by shifting it along 3. So go 1, 2, 3, like that. And now we've got it set up, we can use it to write our secret messages. And I'm going to start by writing, I don't know if you can see that.
Hello.
Yeah, there we go. So I'm going to use it to code the word hello. So to do it, you want to find the H on the bottom row, but instead of writing H, you'll actually write what's written at the top. So you'd write a K, and then you'll go along and find the next letter, but instead of writing an E, you'd write H. And then you'd go along and find the L's. Instead of writing the L's, you'd write the O. You have 2 O's, and then instead of writing the O, you'd write an R. So I can do that one upside down.
Could you lift it up slightly, Hayley, the one you've just written? So you ciphered it, hello, and it's become cool.
Yeah, which sounds like complete nonsense until you know that shift and can work out what it actually said.
Okay. So this is something that would use in World War II.
Yeah, so they would have done it a bit more complicated than we've just done. Instead of kind of using the same shift for each letter, they would do a different shift for each letter. They'd also make it more complicated by not putting the spaces in between the words. It would all just be one continuous line. Maybe, and these messages would be in German as well, so unless you could speak fluent German, it would get very complicated very quickly.
Wow.
So you've ciphered a message. You've made it go from making sense to just being random letters. What happens if we want to go the other way?
Well, I've got a message here that I've put into what looks like complete nonsense. And I'm going to set you to the challenge to try and decipher it to work out what my message said. So when I was ciphering it, I went from the bottom row of my shift to the top. And now you need to do it the opposite way. You need to go from the top to the bottom.
Okay, let's write this down. X, J, H, W, J, Y, and it is a shift of 5.
Yeah.
So I guess if people are watching this video later, they could always pause it now, very quickly make their own cipher set, and then do it themselves.
That's a good idea, yeah.
Okay, let's see. So
I'm going to give it a try as well.
let's see. So a shift of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let's see. So first letter is X. So I'm looking at the top line because we're deciphering it. So X is S. And then J is E. H is C. And then W, oh no, nearly did it on the bottom row. I want the top row. W is R. Oh, J. Oh, excuse me, cat. J is E. We've already done that one. And oh, I think I know where this is going. Y is T.
Mm.
So I think this message says secret. But what did you think, Tony?
Me too. I agree.
Oh, there you go. We've both figured out secret. And if you paused and tried it at home, did you get secret as well?
I do think though that Tony did it a little bit quicker than you, Danny. So that could be a good activity as well if you like to have competitions.
Yeah.
To see who could do it quickest. Really good. Like that.
Yeah. So I mean, so now you know how to cipher a message. You know how to decipher a message. You know how to tell people how to crack it. You tell them it's a shift of, and then whatever number you shifted that bottom row along by. So you can send messages to people in your house, or because it's just a series of letters and numbers, you could send it to people online as well in an email or some kind of group chat or something like that. You could send each other messages, and as long as you tell them what the shift is, they'll be able to figure out what you're telling them.
That's really good. I think a lot of our young people, it'd be great to see some of the ones that they do if they can send us photos or videos, or even send me a secret message through my email. That would be good, and I can try and decipher it this end.
That would be fun. That would.
Yeah, so we'd love to see what you do. Let us know. I think that was a really good activity. I think we've got a lot of young people that will really like that one.
We've got one last message that we've prepared as well. So if they want to have a go at decoding this one, or deciphering this one, I should say. I think that I did this one the opposite way round to Hayley, though. I started at the top row and wrote down the letters on the bottom row.
Okay.
So to decipher it, you have to start on the bottom row and go to the top row.
Another layer of making it tricky, isn't it?
Yeah. So here is my message.
Wow.
Oh my.
So it's a bit of a longer one if you're up for that challenge. And
I'll write it down as well and make sure I get it to the young people if they don't see it on here.
Well, actually, I should put it a bit higher actually, so it's easier to see.
0ZG space. Oh, and you've got a lot of spaces in yours, haven't you?
I have.
I think there's probably lots of words then.
LWV space LZW space WFAYES space. Last word is ESUZAFW. Wow, that is a long one, Tony. That is a challenge. I wonder
thought that would keep you busy.
I like that. I wonder how many of our young people can crack the code. We would love to find out.
And I wonder if you could write the answer in code back to us as a cipher back to us, and then we can see. And then that way as well, if you were to post it on the Facebook page, other people wouldn't be able to see the answer. They would have to work it out for themselves as well.
Brilliant. We shall do that. Well, thank you so much, Tony, Danny and Hayley, for joining us today again. That was a brilliant activity, and we'll see everybody. Send us the pictures and things, and then we'll see everybody next week for our next science activity. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.